Thank you very much, Yolanda, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to start the day like that. And thank you for inviting me to share this time with you. I'm going to share some material that I imagine you can see. Can you see that all right? Okay, great. Well, what was my aim for today? Well, looking at the agenda for these 2 days, I wanted to explain what we're promoting at Santander as technology strategies. But within the Santander business, I joined the group 2 years ago, and I've always believed that technology wasn't the end. Technology was the means to help transform the business and the way
Recording
we
in
work in
progress.
the group. I'm not going to, let's see, I'm getting a message here. Okay. I'm not going to reveal anything you don't know, but I think it's good to just give three brushstrokes on what's happening in the banking sector. And as in all sectors, a lot of things are happening, and COVID has sped them up. COVID has given us the homework of being more digital. We've accelerated change management, something that would have taken years, we've done in a few months. And customers, not only in banking, but in practically all businesses, well, the barriers to change, they choose the most convenient services. And this means that to all companies, and the banking sector is no different, means that we have a lot of pressure and we have to live with different customer profiles, and we have to be able to cover their needs to relate with us in a different way, especially in the world of payment, cards, immediate transactions. There are other companies that are doing a very good job that don't come from the banking sector. And this is a real challenge for traditional banks. I've worked all my life until 2 years ago in the telecommunications sector. And the day that WhatsApp came into the message world, I don't have to say how successful it's been. So I think that we have to think very carefully about how we're going to create our own capabilities around the world of payments. And that's the reason why a few months ago, Santander announced one of our most important strategic priorities, which is Pago Next. This is our payment platform, both for Santander customers and for the open market, or the union of consumer finance and open bank to create a digital consumer bank, which is the second strategic priority of Santander's group. And the third has to do with One Santander and how we can transform the banking model, among other things, with the help of technology, which is the third major trend that's happening in this sector, a sector that has always been a leader in technology because the assets it manages are intangible, digital, and with the onset of new technologies, this is a magnificent opportunity to make the most of it and transform the way we work. And if we focus on what other things are very seriously affecting the bank, the most important non-financial risk, I need not say, is currently the cyber risk, because again, we don't have physical assets; they're all digital, and we work with money. So we're tremendously desirable for all the bad guys, as I say. So it's an area where we're clearly investing a lot, and it's basic because it's related to the trust of our customers. And the biggest value is to feel sure that your money is safe. But we always have regulatory pressure that I must say has surprised me. I thought that the sector was regulated until I got to the banking sector, where the regulations are several orders of magnitude greater. And that means that we have to think about how we use technology to help us be more agile to meet with what the regulators ask for, and also to dedicate part of the investments to transform the relationship with the customers, and that the capital consumption that we're forced to carry out by the regulations won't hurt our customers. That's another major challenge in the banking sector. And as I said earlier, everything that's happening in technology means that we have to look at we put it to use and make the most of. And that's what we're doing. We have a very clear strategy. In the words of our chair, Anna, we want to transform the bank into one global, responsible, and open platform of financial services. And this sounds very good, but you can imagine it's not at all easy. But it is very good because we clearly know where we want to go. And this is the reason why the organization announced a few months ago at Santander is completely aligned with this. We have a number of initiatives in global businesses, such as Paro Next around the payment world. We talk about building the global card unit. We have the digital consumer bank, and we have an organization of the most regional retail banking and corporate banking. So from the area I run as CTO, we're looking at how to accompany this business transformation from the capabilities provided by technology and very clearly understanding that it will not only define the strategy, where I think companies look fairly similar in what we do, but it's a matter of making it happen. That's the real challenge, being the drivers or the icebreakers to get those strategic priorities on a technological level to fulfill their goal, which is to serve a business need, help us to be more efficient, and of course, manage risk. As I said, for me, technology is not the end. It's a matter of facilitating that business goal. And for this, we've organized around several priorities that you can see here. The technology priorities in the Santander Bank strategy. And the first has to do with how we define our new banking architecture. And this is how we break with the world of banking production and distribution and go to an open modular architecture that allows us to consume services from each other, both in Santander and in the ecosystem with third parties. And this is a clear priority because breaking monolithic architectures and breaking very solid and very robust architectures, but they lack flexibility and agility that we need. And also we're not picking up the opportunities provided by new technologies. Another absolutely key priority that you've been discussing yesterday and today is automation. How we go from a no ops world, how we are capable of automating any activity we carry out in the IT world, from infrastructure as code to the construction of our software to monitoring, etc., etc. And that's why everything that has to do with the automation of tasks and processes is another one of the key priorities. Everything that has to do with how we transform the infrastructure that we have in our data centers today with a hybrid cloud model, which is what we're backing at Santander, and how we accompany that journey of using the capabilities of both the private cloud and the public cloud. And I'll give you more details about this later. And as you can imagine, as we're saying, we're going to a world of an open platform and an ecosystem where the capabilities, the APIs, are not just a component to generate business in the open market, but also a fundamental piece to speak this common language between the businesses and the entities that enable us to connect in an efficient way and in a way where Baronet platform doesn't have to integrate with 14 banks, but can do it as technology allows today. And that's why we've defined our banking as a service framework to have a common language so that our platforms can talk to each other and in order to develop business models that were not possible until now in the group. And as you can also imagine, the data issue is another one of our strategic priorities. And we've defined two major concepts, the 360 bank and the 360 customer. And this means that like all companies, the most difficult thing is to break the threads and to agree on what is the good data. And this 360 data, 360 customer brings together all the relevant information that has to do with the customer and the bank, so the producers and consumers can actually work in a radically different way and not as we've been doing in recent years by doing it through organizations. And the sixth priority, which doesn't sound very technological, but I can assure you that is of absolutely capital importance and is on the same level as the others, is how we really simplify our technologies, our processes of the products, because after many years building a lot of products, providing a lot of technologies and layers, the level of complexity on the one hand affects the relationship with our customers, and on the other implies a very high running cost for the banks, and also requires having knowledge about a lot of technologies. So this is another priority we started to work on last year, to work on all the layers, technical architecture, infrastructure, data. And now, for a few months, we're accompanying this with the business simplification, because we cannot transform all the complexity we have. We have to simplify. And what is really the future, transform that. And focusing a little more on cloud. In 2019, we decided to back a hybrid cloud strategy. Until then, we'd worked a lot with the private cloud, and we made the decision of establishing two strategic agreements with Microsoft and Amazon. And this journey started that obviously we're only at the beginning, but you'll see that we've already done a great deal. And the leap in these last 2 years makes us feel very, very proud of what we're achieving. And this is the strategy we share with our majors, and which I've explained before. This isn't a matter of computing between private cloud, public cloud. No, this is about how we take the more traditional infrastructure we have in our data centers, and depending on the use, utilize what makes most sense. And here we have everything that has to do with our private cloud, which has a lot to do with ensuring that we don't have obsolescence, that we're much more efficient, much closer to the EAS world. And everything that has to do with the public cloud has to do with the new platforms. For example, the next payment platforms are all built on public cloud. It has to do with the use of innovation around data. And it also has to do with those new scenarios where we fulfill what we've called our cloud criteria, which are obviously cost issues, but also compliance issues, regulation, etc., etc., and fit for purpose. And we use Red Hub to obtain that reversibility and this outlet plan, which is so relevant for the regulators. So this is our strategy, and this has enabled us to reach a situation today where we have a cloud infrastructure in the group, both in the public cloud and in our data centers, covering all the businesses and all the regions in which we operate. For banks, as I said before, retail banking and commercial banking, and also in relation to global platforms. And we are all using this hybrid cloud concept, and the adoption speed depends a great deal on the business and the interest and the know-how and the skills acquired by the region or the country. And the fact is that we feel tremendously proud of this, because in a very short time we've made a very big leap. And what do I think are the success factors? Well, one of the success factors is that in 2019 we started to work like crazy on having a framework, what we called our certified Santander cloud. That is, what are the rules of the game? We've been consuming a private cloud. Now we want to consume public cloud. How are we going to do it? And how are we going to do it not only from the technology center, but hand in hand with compliance, risk, the financial area, auditing? You can't imagine, or perhaps you can, how many people we've worked with until we have finally defined what the rules of the game are for our data, for cyber, for the architectures, how we orchestrate the execution of all this through the competence centers, where the CIO, the CIS, or the CTO have a role, and it's an absolutely mainstream function. and how these technologies are also helping us to build the software and deploy and test in much more agile ways, as I'm sure you'll be discussing over these 2 days. So we came to this agreement with Microsoft and Amazon, and we've been working with Santander Cloud on the curated models concept. So at the beginning, you're slow until you have a minimum critical mass for those tools. But as you build, you can speed up the execution of the projects. And as I said earlier, they are very relevant projects and projects that are clearly related to what we call the core business. And to give us some figures of what we've done these last 2 years, well, as you can see here, 60% of all our IT infrastructure is already on the cloud in a combination between public and private. And this has helped us to position ourselves as one of the leaders in the adoption of these technologies. And also, as I said, it's been very much fit for purpose, not trying to go to the maximum, but looking at where it makes sense to use each of the capabilities. And I think that the example of Pagonext is also very revealing, because sending up a merchant and trade platform in less than a year with a number of very strict requirements, all on public, but connected to all the banks and the data centers, is a trial. And with transactions that were done in days, they're now being done in real time. So you can imagine that it's not being easy, but we are being successful. And this opens up opportunities that were unthinkable before, or taking platforms that were in Latin America, we bring them to Europe and vice versa. And all these capabilities enable us to acquire asset companies. And by having this cloud strategy, that means that we can integrate them much more quickly. And I don't need to say that when we were all locked in, we were able to send all our employees to work from home in a matter of just a few days. And this was another great lesson learned. And now it's something that we manage absolutely normally. And thanks to the cloud capabilities, both in cyber in collaboration tools and access to data center, we can do this very quickly. And it also helped us think what we were doing traditionally around communication in the buildings. And we've gone to a model that is related much more closely to work from home, because COVID taught us there were things we were doing that were not necessary. And this has been very convenient for both our employees and customers. And the fact that we haven't been able to go to the office means that we've had to strengthen and speed up certain digital capabilities that have put us in a much stronger position than before the pandemic. And all these technologies obviously always also have a very positive impact on everything that has to do with energy consumption, ESG parameters. So in the end, it all adds up. And to finish, because I'm running out of time, this was a couple of months ago. We had several meetings with experts from the sector and with the press. And the fact is that although it's just the beginning of the journey, we feel tremendously proud of what we have achieved in these 2 years. And here you can see that in 2023, we want everything to be on our cloud. And obviously, the long term is always complicated, because you find a lot of old technologies that are not compatible, etc., etc. But I'm sure that we're going to be successful. And especially what I was saying earlier, getting these capabilities for our global platforms and our local banks to speak using that common language, which for us is one of the main challenges of all banks. that have lived for many years in a model where the supply and production of banking services was in an architecture that was more monolithic. And now it's time to open it up and interconnect it because we're competing with global actors. And in the world of payment and cards, these are actors that work on a global scale. And this is where the cloud gives us excellent tools. And regarding the building of our software, it allows our developers to work with their tools the same way they could at other technology companies. So it's a very cool challenge. As you can imagine, we're working very hard, but we're also having a great time because you don't always have the opportunity of working on the transformation of a sector that's as important for society as the banking sector, and to feel that you're really contributing to its transformation and to build what the platform is going to be in the next 20 years. So personally, it makes me feel very proud. And I hope that these you'll enjoy these talks today. And these events are a wonderful opportunity to understand what's happening because sometimes we tend to be somewhat endogamic. It opens our minds, helps us to share, and above all, to learn. And that's all from me. Thank you very much.